All right, what's going on, you guys? So I wanted to speak real quick on this fight. I'm not going to speak too long on this fight. I just want to let you guys know that I do like the fight. I do really like the fight. Errol doesn't really have that many options at this moment. We know he wants to unify. Jeff Horn has his own stuff going on. Keith Thurman is out on injury right now. We all want to see the Terrence Crawford fight, but I doubt we won't see that. I doubt we'll see that fight. I mean, listen, I would love to see the fight anytime. If they were to announce that fight right now, that would be great. But I'm not. I can wait a little while for that fight. You know what I'm saying? I could wait to the end of next year or possibly 2019 even to see that fight because, in my opinion, I think I know Crawford had just got and moved up to 147. But in my opinion, I think those two are the best. I think they could both beat Keith Thurman. That's not a knock on Keith Thurman. I know Keith Thurman at 147 is more proven, but for when I see in a ring, I would probably pick the both of them to beat Keith Thurman if they were to fight. Obviously, Keith is very, very dangerous. I think Keith is at his best in the earliest rounds because that's where he's the most dangerous. He can either knock one of the, especially in the first couple rounds, he can knock either one of them out possibly in the first 1 or 2 rounds. But as the fight goes on, I expect both Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, if they were to fight Keith, to break him down later in the fight. Okay. Um. Now, as far as this fight here, Lamont Peterson is always a solid opponent for anybody. Okay. He has a solid resume. He has been in there with plenty of people. I don't really see much of a slowdown as far as him in his career right now. I mean, the last few times I've seen him fight, I seen him fight Felix Diaz. I seen him fight Danny Garcia. I can't really remember who I last seen him fight. I don't know if the Felix Diaz was his last fight. I can't really remember. But Lamont is always solid, except the Matisse fight. Outside of that fight, he's always solid, even in the losses he's got. And you just don't know what he's going to bring. He has a great inside game. He can fall back and fight a slick fight if he wants to. Um, he's really, really well rounded, and I think he's like a step below. He's championship level, but he hasn't really won the titles in order for me to say that he's the elite of 147, but he was definitely the elite at 140. But at 147, I think he's like just beneath that. I can probably put him in the top 10 as a welterweight, though. As a welterweight, I can arguably put him at a top 10. But that you can argue that. You can make the argument. But I think Lamont Peterson is always a solid fight. If you're waiting for a bigger fight, this is the best you can get as far as not fighting a top elite fighter or a title holder, in my opinion. Okay, and as far as the style matchup in this fight, Errol Spence is a tough fight for Errol because I think Errol's gonna win this fight, but he's not gonna win in the same way he did with Kell Brook. Okay, Kell Brook, we know he's always had stamina issues. We all know that he was coming off of that Triple G loss. There was a lot. He's coming down in weight. There was a lot that a lot of people that thought that Kell Brook would lose before that fight. They said all of these things. All right. So all of those things you had to factor into that fight. But Kell Brook is a different fighter than Lamont Peterson. Lamont Peterson is a guy that doesn't have those. What's it called? He doesn't have the same stamina issues like Kell Brook. He has a much, much better inside game. Lamar Peterson is known for having a good inside game. Okay. I think the disadvantages that he has against Errol Spence, though, because there's a lot of similarities, really. There's a lot of similarities there. But I think what he has, what Errol Spence has against him is obviously the youth. Okay. I think Errol Spence is just a more athletic fighter, though, overall. Okay, I think he's quicker. Definitely got faster hands than Lamont Peterson. I think he's just a better overall athlete. Just the way that he moves, he's just a lot. He's just more athletic, in my opinion. Not only that, but he also has a really, really good inside game. And Lamont Peterson won't really be able to bully Errol Spence. If anything, I think this fight will make Errol Spence a better fighter. I just don't know what Lamont Peterson is going to bring. But the biggest problem I have with Lamont Peterson is his he doesn't when he's behind, he doesn't know how to pick it up. You know, he usually fights the same way throughout the fight, the same pace. Not saying he's not willing to make adjustments because he can. But what I'm saying is if he's a little behind, he won't really pick up the pace to collect the win. And we saw that in the Danny Garcia fight. I thought he was losing early. He gave way too many rounds off early. But when he started being a dog in that fight and started really grinding it out and started bullying Danny, he didn't keep it going. And that really annoyed me in that fight because at first I thought Lamont Peterson was going to win that fight, you know. Uh, but when I went back and watched, a lot of people were telling me back then, you know, I think Danny still won because Danny collected too many rounds in those earlier rounds, and Danny kind of finished strong. When I went back and watched it, I agreed because Lamont, for some reason, Lamont doesn't really pick it up more. You know, he fights in that same pace, and that's what that's why I'm pretty confident that Errol's going to win this fight because as good as Lamont is, and remember, Lamont was the first dude back years ago, a few years ago. I don't know what fight Floyd was preparing for, but he was the first one to actually, you know, have those rumors of sparring sessions where Lamont was giving Floyd the business. You know, before Errol Spence, I heard that Lamont was the one that was giving Floyd some good work in the sparring session. So he was at least, you know, equal to Floyd in those sparring sessions, especially on his inside game. He has great inside game, so I'm not surprised with that. But I think that Errol right now, he can at bare minimum, at his absolute worst in this fight, he can at least hang with Lamont Peterson, even on the inside. And I think the volume is a little higher. He works a little bit more. Like I said, that's going to have a lot to do with his youth in this fight. And I just think that I expect more from Earl. If he's able to stop Lamont Peterson, I'm not saying it's impossible, but if he's able to stop Lamont, I'll be very, very impressed because Lamont has been stopped by Matisse, but Matisse is like one of the hardest punchers out there. Not many, you know, most of the guys that fought him went down in that fight at some point. You know, I mean, outside of the dudes that got crazy, like a crazy chin, like uh what's the guy's name? Um, uh, I can't think of the guy that fought Tim Bradley. He's the Kazakh fighter, Pavaknikov. Okay, Pavaknikov didn't go down against him. I believe Danny Garcia didn't go down, but those guys Danny is known for having an iron chin. As badly as he's been beaten up in some fights, he never goes down. I don't think he's ever been down in his whole career, even as an amateur. I believe he's never been down before. All right, so he has an iron chin. Provoknikov had an iron chin, but pretty much every other fighter went down against Matisse at some point. So with that being said, I have Errol winning this fight. I think this is a solid fight. Can't wait around too long. You have to get a fight scheduled in there somewhere. You know, you beat Kell Brook. He hasn't fought since that fight. And we don't want to go way too long. We don't want to go too long of not having a fight. You know, Errol has to stay active, especially if he plans on fighting top fighters like a Keith Thurman or a Terrence Crawford. He has to stay, you know, if he wants to be the supreme champ at 147, he has to stay active, you know, because he has some tough fight coming up, you know, and especially if he is to reign supreme at 147 and he plans on going to 154, he has to stay active. Got to stay active, especially at this age, all right, while he's still young. So anyway, that's my thoughts. I don't want to make a long video. Like the fight. Got Errol winning this one though. I think whatever Lamont brings, he could be a challenge for Errol. I think he's tougher than a Kell Brook. I think he has a better inside game than Kell Brook. Overall, as a boxer, though, I think Kell Brook was a bigger challenge for Errol, and Errol passed that test. So I think he should be able to pass this test too. I think Lamont brings different dangers in this fight, but it shouldn't be nothing that Errol can't handle, you know? So anyway, let me know what you guys think on this fight, and make sure you guys hit subscribe. Peace.